Recently, I purchased an electric motion trials bike. This is the 2022 E-Pure Race model, and I want to share with you today why I purchased it, my observations so far after riding it for a week or two, and who I think this bike is for. So in my own personal garage here, I had a motorcycle and also a trials bicycle, and I just wasn't riding the trials bicycle as much. I thought it'd be great for cross training and balance, and it is. It's a great tool. I just didn't have any friends to ride with, a place to ride. I don't know. I just wasn't getting that much out of it. So I sold it thinking, well, maybe I'll get like an offset or something. I actually talked to Oliver Smith and Pat Smodgy and about the benefits of riding those bikes and how much fun they can be. And the 2024 models have huge upgrades, but they're just not attainable yet. And so I was planning to get one of those and I was saving up my money, but I just couldn't find any yet. And this electric motion deal was really close to home. A gentleman was selling it and I thought this could be a similar type bike. Well, this isn't going to replace my TRS. I still love gas bikes, and the pop you get from a clutch on a gasoline or a petrol bike and the flywheel is just a lot of fun. I mean, zaps, splats, these types of things aren't nearly as doable on an electric motion bike. I love riding them. This is something that I've gotten better at obstacle riding than just regular riding. That's currently a strength of mine. And honestly, I pursued it early on for just its dopamine hits. I really enjoyed going out in the backyard and working on getting up obstacles, and you get a big dopamine hit. Undoubtedly, this is fun. This is kind of like mainlining the drug of trials as an addict. But in all honesty, what I need to practice is turns. I need to practice off-camber stuff. I need to practice balance and bike control. And this type of bike is going to force me to do that. If you guys want a full review on an electric motion bike, I would encourage you to search the internet. Inch Perfect Trials has a ton of great videos, as well as IRC, Rich Larson. I really respect his work. He's got a great review on those bikes. I'll include that here. But it's kind of hard to swap back and forth between the electric bike and the gas bike, at least for me. The clutch is different, the timing's slightly different. So I'm going to give this EM bike just a solid month. And I'm going to be sharing my observations as I go, maybe even try and include some shorts, some regular interval content. Now, let me get to the benefits of this bike. It's fun. This thing is quick. It's definitely zippy. This thing's got lots of power. It's easy to wash and maintain. There's just less parts. There's less oil. There's no gas. So washing it was a breeze. It's easy to move around and get started again, especially if someone who has trouble kickstarting a bike. This can be a big advantage. It does well in creeks and rocks, and even after an event, I rode it through the creeks, and I found it did very well on some of the same sections I was riding on my gas bike. It's planted. It is a little bit heavier. The power delivery is just more linear, so it's really good in creek beds. The traction is excellent. Learning to go slow on cambers. It doesn't stall. So it's great to work on body posture, throttle control, and balance, and there's just less inputs. There's less to think about for sure. Now, there's definitely a different auditory response. It kind of sounds like a couple of cats that are fighting or screaming, but I'm getting used to it. Obviously, there's no gears, which is actually kind of nice. There's less to think about. So if I'm trying to do an obstacle or something, I can easily whip around and hit something again quick and fast because I'm not shifting gears to go further or faster. It's all just one gear, so there's less to think about. This thing hops decently well. It is a little bit heavier, and so the center of gravity feels lower and it feels more planted. Especially after hopping, I feel like I can recover static balance a little bit easier, especially on a hillside. The clutch pop isn't quite the same, so for a rear tire hop, when I'm trying to get that lift, I do have to wind it up a little bit more, which just takes some getting used to. I've adjusted the suspension both on the front and rear. Personally, I like to increase the preload a little bit more and then lessen the rebound dampening. That's a personal preference. I wanted something that could just give me more peg time. Regardless of if it was a gas bike or an electric bike, I just want to get on the bike more. So I bought this bike thinking, well, I'll probably take it to the campground and I can ride it in different environments that I can't ride a gas bike. And now that I have it, it's probably going to help me relate to a good bit of my viewing audience. So I want to share at this point who I think this bike is good for. If you are someone who wants an easy bike, this is perfect. There's no clutch that you have to use. There's no gears. This is something that is very simple. So if you're looking to get into trials bikes or even motorcycles in general, this is a great entry bike. Most kids start on electric bikes, and so this is perfect for an adult. There's no noise. There's no heat. There's no potential burn. You can ride it in shorts. There's not as much fear, so to speak. You can really zip around on these things, and I think they are a lot of fun. Now, you can also progress to a very high level. Myself, I have personally witnessed Quinn Wenzel riding at the Nationals on the expert line. He asked me to mind for him and spot in a couple tough sections. The guy can do some incredible things on an electric bike. Now, if you don't want to deal or don't have as much knowledge on maintenance type stuff, whether it's carbs or, just fuel and engines and all that type of stuff, this bike is great. You don't have to have the same type of knowledge. You don't have to worry about that. This is just simple. You plug it in, you lube the chain, and you go. Now, maybe if you're someone who is a little bit older and you had knee issues or you can't kickstart a bike very easily, this thing is perfect. If you're someone whose skill level is lower or intermediate and you don't really have to worry about doing big undercut steps or splats, this bike is ideal. It can still do a zap, but I would say it's more geared towards lower and intermediate level. It can go very high, and ride-ups are no problem. So if you're someone whose skill level is in that area of kind of beginner, intermediate, even advanced, but you're not as worried about doing some of these more, advanced moves, this bike is perfect. If you're someone who wants to practice at home and you live in a suburbs or maybe an HOA, or even if you want to ride inside because you live in a really cold climate, this thing is perfect for that. It's a fully capable machine. I'm not saying it doesn't do what you want it to do. I'm just thinking that if you're someone who fits into those criteria, it's going to be very enjoyable, and I'm enjoying it. I'm obviously committed to buying this bike and learning it, and it's something that I don't think I'm going to completely give up riding a gas bike. It's just something I wanted to practice. I wanted to learn. Like I said, more peg time, balance, working on turns. Now, let me say it again. This is a fully capable machine. This is a trials bike that is designed to do almost all the same type of stuff. It just doesn't get quite the same lift with the clutch pop, especially as it relates to splatter moves, but it is still a very, very capable machine. You guys can drop any questions that I didn't answer already in the comments, and I'll try and get back to you. And finally, no, I don't think I'm switching to electric. I still have my TRS. I still thankfully can ride either one. It wasn't a situation where I had to sell one and buy the other, so it's not a replacement for a gas bike for me. It's just something that I'm going to work on practicing. For someone else, it might be your first time purchase, or you might want to get this type of bike as opposed to a gas bike. It could be a really good match, especially for those kind of individuals that I've painted a picture of. It all depends on your preference and your riding style. So I've given this bike to a couple people and said, hey, try this out. And eventually a lot of them say, nah, it's not for me. Well, I get it, but if you could have both, which is my current situation, I think this is a great training tool.